Spread Great Ideas is meant to increase the signal in a world awash in noise. I'm your curator and host, Brian David Crane, and it is my quest to share the learnings of the world's most interesting people, the disruptors, the outliers, the libertines, and those who've been unconventionally successful so that we can become a little bit wiser together. Hey, Andrei, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. So as a bit of context, you and I were having a chat last night in the car, and we were talking about some of the differences between Belarus and the surrounding countries. And I got to say that Belarus is a country that I think most Americans know very little about. You lived in the States for a year. You've obviously traveled as well outside of Belarus, which is somewhat unique because the majority of Belarusians don't necessarily get to leave the country. And I want to talk about a little bit of the history in Belarus, some of your observations from having been outside of the country and then going back, and also maybe the logistics as far as how you actually got here, because it's a testament to some of the government policies in Belarus. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So first of all, what's Belarus known for? It's it has the oldest or the longest running dictatorship in Europe, you said yesterday, yeah?
Yes, so Europe thinks so. So that we have the last dictator of Europe. So they call it our president this way.
And what's his nickname inside of Belarus?
Бацька.
Which is daddy.
Which is daddy, father. Yeah.
Effectively, yeah? Yeah. Okay. And so
do you know why it is so, actually?
No.
I think that it is so because he tries to care about everything. Doesn't matter he can do it or he cannot, he tries to do it. So he thinks that he's the best in biathlon, in economics, in everything, in spacecraft, I don't know. So, and that's why we call him like bацька, because he can try to do everything. So that's it, I think.
Was he in the Soviet military prior to the fall of the Soviet Union? Because he's been the dictator since the fall of the USSR, correct?
He is the first president of Belarus after the crash of the USSR.
Okay. But in Belarus, I was watching a video earlier today, and they actually, a lot of the symbols, the flags, these sort of things, they haven't really changed much since the fall of the USSR, since the fall of the Soviets, right?
Not exactly. So we changed our flag, actually. So it was changed. The colors were changed. So we were white, red, white.
Okay.
And now we're red, green, and a little bit of white. So he changed the flag.
But are there things that haven't really changed since the fall? Like when we were sitting here working yesterday, Roman, his plug was still a throwback to the Soviet Union on his computer, those sort of things.
You mean, did something change from that time?
Yeah.
So we tried to change, but so we are back. So we're still back, 20 years back from, I think, a well-developed country. So.
And let me just speak a minute to your experience in coming to Poland, which is, as we're talking right now, we're in Warsaw, and you have to get a visa to leave. You have to get stamped when you're here in the country to illustrate that you had the business meeting. And then you told me yesterday in the car that one of the reasons that you all took a bus from Belarus over here was it's one of the few ways that actually is on time, that there's not stopped by the border guards and searched for contraband or smuggling or those sort of things, right?
Not exactly, but there is some truth in that.
What am I getting wrong?
Okay, so if we speak about the visa, this is not our country's problem. This is the European Union requires visa and to get us in,
Yeah.
So what concerns these queues on the border, so again, so this is the problem of both sides, I think. So we got checked.
In both directions.
In both directions, yes.
Yeah.
So and what about the papers that we have to sign and stamp and seal a lot of papers? That's true. So the bureaucracy is our second name.
Well, and you had told me that. So, for instance, it's quite popular to smuggle cigarettes and some other things from Belarus into Poland because they're cheaper if you're bringing them from Belarus, and vice versa. If you're going from Poland back to Belarus, it's pretty common to take technology because there's some sort of ratio of what is actually allowed to be sold in Belarus. It has to be, 80% Russian, 20% European Union or something like that?
Yeah, so the thing is that people try to earn some money selling cigarettes, oil.
Like gasoline?
Yeah,
okay.
Gasoline, yeah. To the Europe. So they try to pack their cars and try to get through the border. And they're trying to buy expensive things in Europe. I mean, TV sets, refrigerators, all that stuff, because they are cheaper, first of all. Secondly, they can buy brands, which means it's a good quality. And thirdly, they can return some money back, VAT. So they can return 20 or 23% out of this purchase
from the Polish government.
Yeah. What concerns the quotas, so I can't tell the real the real proportion, but it is some about 80 to 20. So we have to sell our Belarusian goods in our shops.
Okay.
Because it is thought by our president. So our president thinks so that it will stimulate our economy. It will help our factories, to remain open and to give people jobs.
And you had told me yesterday that there's press all the time in Belarus that talks about how it's getting better. That reminds you. I don't know if it's propaganda or if it's press, somewhere in between the two.
I don't know why it is happening, but of course, if we switch on the TV and we'll try to watch programs which are Belarusian programs controlled by government, so everything is okay there. So we have some economic growth every year. And we are told that everything is okay. So we are getting better every day and every week and every year. And there will be some day, then everything will be okay. But nothing is changing. So at the moment. So.
And you're sympathetic to this because you live close to the Polish border and can watch or pick up on what's happening in Poland and see sort of the contrast.
Yeah. So people who live in the West, so they just can compare. They're living in Belarus and they're living in Poland, for example, or other European countries. So and that's why we understand that the stories we are told about the progress is not actually it. It's just the information which is given us under the right angle. If you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah. from the government's angle.
Yeah. So from the government's angle, for those people who will vote in 5 years. So.
Yeah, there's a couple other things that I found interesting when we were talking about Belarus. So one is that programmers, that's the highest paid job in Belarus.
Yeah, correct.
So therefore you have a lot of people that are going into programming or engineering, computer science, that for you have a family and you would be keen for your kids to go to school outside of Belarus because the degrees and the diploma that come from a Belarusian university aren't honored by any other, basically any other country, right?
Yeah, I don't know why it is happening again, but I think this is not the problem of Belarus. This is the problem of attitude to our country. But what I really think that what is real Belarusian treasure is our brains, our minds. That's why we have That's really true. That's why we have the real and the best programmers. We have very good doctors. So still, like in Soviet Union, we have a very good educational system. So we are forced to study. So the study is under control. So everyone should attend school, then go to university. So I think that government stimulate that. The whole country stimulates that. Parents stimulate that. Government stimulates that. Different third parties stimulate that. So that's why we really have good specialists. But there is some some difficult things to understand. So the diploma we have here in Belarus is not recognized in Europe. So we have to prove the knowledge and
A second time.
Second time, right?
Yeah.
So and just after that we can get a job. But still, a lot of people go outside the Belarus. They prove this knowledge. They start working in Europe and become successful doctors, programmers, engineers, whatever. So, but still, after that, our diploma is still not recognized anywhere.
And when they leave, is that a problem in Belarus where you have young people who are leaving, going elsewhere in Europe, not coming back, and there is a demographic, essentially like a demographic crisis where you have the young have left, the old need the pension system, and there's not enough young people effectively to support the existing pension obligations.
I think that the problem not just only that the young people are going out from Belarus. The problem is that everyone tries to get out of Belarus. So not just young people. People who are 30, 40, 50, if they have an opportunity, they go somewhere, start business in another country, so try to set there to get their permanent residence there, and then maybe the citizenship. So not just young people, but young people understand more. So young people were not born in the USSR. They were born in this Belarus, and they understand what is happening. And they are trying to do this just after they finish school, university.
Yeah, to get out.
Yeah, to get out. So that's why, at the moment, a lot of people try to find something better, because our government don't want or can't give our people what they deserve.
And what about internet censorship? Is the internet censored? What?
So government controls the only provider of internet.
Okay.
So what is behind that? So I can't tell, but I suppose yes, of course. So if we have only one provider, if the government asks to put a special device somewhere in the
Infrastructure.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it means something. I think that there is some kind of control. How do they use it? I don't know, but I think that it is.
So on a more positive note, I will say a couple things I learned interesting about Belarus. Number one is it has the most trees of any country in Europe. Something like 40% of the country is covered in trees. So it's known as the lungs of Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are a very green country, and not only just because of these forests. If you come to any city of Belarus, you will find a lot of trees and parks in every city and every town. So I think that's cool. Yeah, that's right.
And for folks who don't know the geography of kind of the northern European plain, Poland is exceptionally flat. Belarus is exceptionally flat. It's almost like the Midwest in the U.S. I know you were in the U.S. for a year, but you were only in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah. So it's almost like open plains, effectively, right? And what did you say about the seasons? Is that summertime there is magical, wintertime when it snows is magical, but outside of that?
So winter is a good season in our country, of course. It's very beautiful. So we have a lot of trees, we have a lot of flowers. So that's really beautiful. So late spring, then summer, and maybe early autumn is very beautiful. If we have snow in winter, it is also beautiful. But with this global warming, we have less and less snow every year.
Okay.
And it becomes gray without snow. But if you have snow, that's really beautiful. Our children are very happy to be able to, play with the snow, make snowmen, something like that.
And what about just the Belarusian people in general? You had told me yesterday that they are quite a bit warmer than Russians.
Yeah, so the Belarusian people are different from Russians, and sometimes, it even offensive sounds like an offense when you are called Russians, not Belarusians. Even they are Russians, but we are Belarusians, not Belarusian, Belarusians.
Belarusians, okay.
Yeah, so, I think, yes, so we are different. So we are kinder, so we are warmer, we are very, very hospitable. I was talking about Georgia yesterday with you,
Yeah.
so people from Georgia are also very hospitable, so I think that we are quite the same. So we are positive, so whatever happens, we remain being positive, so I think it's a very good thing. We're not so aggressive, so I think we are not aggressive at all. So, and so that's the point, I think. So that's the difference from Russians.
And with respect to Belarus and its history related to Lithuania and Poland, it was one country at one point, right?
Yeah.
And what was the language that was spoken?
It was some kind of, you mean the history, right?
Yeah. What was the name of the country?
Rzecz Pospolita.
That
We're
one.
speaking about that country.
Yeah.
So the language, it was some ancient language. It was the mixture of Polish language, Belarusian language, and Lithuanian language.
Okay.
So, and in different times, it was different language. So, there were hard times. So it was Lithuanian language. Some part of it was Belarusian language. So then it was Poland language. So time changed. So the language also changed. The politics changed. So, but still, we have a lot of common words with Polish language, and I think that Belarusian language is more familiar, more similar to Polish language than for example to Russian. If we take Belarusian native language,
But
not Russian substitution of Belarusian words.
Yeah. You had told me yesterday that the people who speak Belarusian or Belarusian are viewed almost as
with suspicion.
Yeah, because the president doesn't actually speak it.
So that's my point of view. So our president speaks Russian.
Okay.
And I have never heard him speaking Belarusian language. So, and as a president of Belarus, that seems strange.
Yeah.
So we have two official languages, Russian and Belarusian, but our president speaks only Russian. And those who speak Belarusian are considered to be like, opposition, and they are looked at with suspicion.
That they are, there's an old expression about one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah.
And depending on who's looking at him, some people would consider him to be domestic terrorists, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think that our Belarusian language is getting better year after year. So more and more people speak it, and whether our president wants it or not, so our language is moving forward. So we have, signs around the country in Belarusian language.
It's like a nationalist movement in a way. Of
steady, not very quick, but steady movement forward. And our Belarusian language is not being forgotten.
So a couple other interesting things, because after you and I talked last night, I started to do some research. Average salary in Belarus is roughly $400 a month.
Yeah. So if you just make a close survey of the salaries, what I remember is some kind of 10 years ago, our president promised that at least $500 will be the salary of everyone in Belarus.
Per month.
So, per month, yeah. After these 10 years, we have the same promise to get this $500 as a salary. So if we have this $500 as a salary, It's not big money, of course, but it would be enough to live more or less comfortably within the Belarus. So we can't really travel around the world, but within the Belarus, it will be okay with this sum of money. But still, we don't have them. So we have the promise that sooner, in 2 years, in 3 years, so you'll get this $500. But nothing happens.
And there's no real movement to overthrow this guy effectively. There's sort of an expectation of we'll just ride it out until he passes away, and he doesn't have like a prince or a son who's waiting in the wings to take.
No movement. I think there are a lot of reasons for that. The first one is control. So the police forces, the military forces, some special forces like so you call it FBI in your country.
Yeah,
so
internal security service.
KGB,
yeah.
it is called. So I think that these forces are under control and they control the situation in Belarus and don't let anything happen, first of all. The second thing is that actually there are no other candidates potentially that can change the situation, because if someone tries to think that he maybe can participate in the elections and make another and become another president, something happens that this candidate is out of the this race, president race. So
he or she
every election
disappears.
we have, our president as the number one candidate, and some known names which are, can be a real president. So that's my point of view. So that's happened this way.
I had read that there is an old Soviet expression, which is the government pretends to hold elections and the people pretend to vote. Or that maybe a better way to say it is that it's not he who votes that counts, but he who counts the votes.
Yeah,
that's a famous phrase from Stalin.
I think that's not Stalin, probably. It's some British
Politician.
Maybe Margaret Thatcher. I can be mistaken, but yeah, the thing is that
it's not.
It doesn't matter how people vote. It doesn't matter who counts.
It's who counts it.
Yeah.
And certifies the election. Yeah. Well, I think on one side that is compelling for Belarus is, I hope that whenever if I say his name, is it Lukashenko? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he moves on, that Belarus as a country moves more into the orbit of Europe, because like you've said right now, is it's not even really considered. It's very much in the orbit of Russia, and historically speaking, Russia gets very antsy when anything gets closer and closer to threatening its border. And by its border, I mean that it is able to strike at Moscow or move into the heartland of Russia. And so for that reason, Belarus is quite important to Russia as a buffer between it and Europe, right?
Yeah. So my political views are not my strong side, but as far as I know, so yes. So we are important for Russia to be such a zone. And you told that our country is trying to look westward, and try to make some contacts with Europe, and of course, that's what Russia doesn't like. And these processes have started not long ago, maybe within a year. So now we have the possibility to pay less for our visas because of such policy, because Belarus started to talk with Europe, and that's why I think that we are trying to look westward, and not just eastward, but westward.
And one other shift that's happened is that at least since last year, if you're coming from certain countries, and the U.S. would be one of them, if you land in Minsk in the airport, you're able to enter the country and spend 30 days there visa-free.
Yeah.
Which is unique. If you cross the border, on a land border, you can't do that. If you come in another way, you can't do that. It has to only be through the Minsk airport, but you can come in for 30 days visa-free, and so you get more Europeans probably coming in as a result of that.
Partially through. So if you fly to Minsk, it's okay.
Yep.
And if you cross the border and will visit Grodno, for example, or Brest, by car, it is also possible.
Okay.
So, but you cannot cross the border and go to Minsk because
it's too far.
Yeah, you're not supposed to leave this zone, visa-free zone. So, and if you just go by car, you can't go by Minsk by car because you will leave the Grodno free zone. So you should fly to Minsk to visit Minsk for free without visa, or go by car to visit Grodno or Brest.
And then when you land there in Minsk, you have to take out insurance, I think, as a foreigner for the duration of your trip. From what I'd read online, is that effectively you say, I don't know what the insurance covers, but I think it's partially to register you with the police, and then partially also to say it's almost like a bond. Like if you break something or get in trouble in the country.
I think it's medical insurance.
It's medical insurance?
Just medical insurance, yeah.
Okay.
But when we go to Europe, we also have we have insurance. To have some medical insurance. We must have it.
Okay. And for the single guys listening to this, what did you say last night about the Belarusian or the Belarusian women?
So they are the best. So they are the most beautiful. So you can't argue with that. So
and your wife has also said that they are much more fit than, like physically fit than the Poles and the other countries around. And why is that?
I don't know, because of fast food. I think
in Poland,
in Poland and Europe, maybe in the US as well.
I went to a shopping mall last night to get a couple things, and there was Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, Burger King, like 4 or 5 of the big multinational brands, fast food chains were all over this place, and I can see that having an impact on their diet.
Speaking about Grodno, so for example, we don't have McDonald's in Grodno.
Which is a city of 250,000 people, 300,000 people, right?
Yeah. We have one Burger King, and that's it. No Subway, no KFC. Yeah, so nothing like that in Grodno, just in Minsk. So maybe we are still trying to stay away from that a bit.
Well, it was crazy. I looked at flying into Grodno to meet you and Roman, and there was no public airport. When I mean public airport, I mean an airport that commercial airlines fly into. And so Grodno is 300,000 people, but it's 3.5 hour drive from Minsk, from Warsaw, and you have to cross a border, an actual manned check border, to get into Poland. So the feasibility of getting there, if you're coming in on an EU passport or an American passport, it's effectively you got to fly to Minsk and take the train. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, let's stop there. Thanks for chatting with me. Yeah.
If you have some more questions, so we can chat again sometime in the future.
I definitely want to get to Belarus. It's a country that prior to meeting you two, knew very little about, and now I'm very interested to go there.
I still welcome you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers.